Hello, Mosaic. I'm so glad that you joined us today. My name is Joe, and I'm one of our pastors here, and I'm so excited because today we're launching a brand new series called Home for the Holidays. And I want to invite you right now to grab your phone and text 5 friends. Send them the link, mosaic.org/live, because I think this is really important for us this Christmas season to remind people that we've created a space called home, and they can have a conversation today that could change everything for them. And today we have a gift because it's Pastor Erwin and Kim McManus, our lead pastors, that are going to be having a conversation with us today that I feel like we need to be a part of as a church. And so lean in, be expectant. Just know that God is going to speak today through a powerful word as we kick off this Christmas season. I have the joy of being dad to 3 incredible boys. And one of our favorite things that we get to do every single week is watch the kids episode and be a part of the kids worship. And I'm so excited because this Christmas season, we have brand new worship that the team has put together. So if you're a family that's watching this and you have other families that are part of it, I want to encourage you to go to mosaic.org/kids and be sure to check out our latest episode and enjoy this incredible worship that we created for you. And we know every holiday season that there's some people that it is filled with so much joy and celebration, and for others that the holidays are really difficult. And so what we would love to know is how we can serve you, how we can celebrate with you. So if there's things going on in your life and maybe this holiday season you need prayer, I want to invite you to go to mosaic.org/prayer and let us know how we can help. And then we also want to hear how God's moving. And if this season you have things to celebrate, you have praises, then let us know that as well so we can be a part of the joy of this Christmas season with you. Before we get a chance to hear an incredible message from our lead pastors, we got a chance to worship together. And I love what worship does. It just creates space for us to say thank you to God. And what a great way to launch into the Christmas season is by us worshiping together.
Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing. Joyful, joyful Lord, we adore you. God of glory, Lord of love. Hearts unfold like flowers before you. Hail you as the sun above. Joyful, joyful Lord, we adore you. God of glory, Lord of love. Hearts unfold like flowers before you. Hail you as the sun above. Joyful, joyful Lord, we adore you. God of glory, Lord of love. Hearts unfold like flowers before you. Hail you as the sun above. Joyful, joyful Lord, we adore you. God of glory, Lord of love. Hearts unfold like flowers before you. Hail you as the sun above. Joyful, joyful Lord, we adore you. God of glory, Lord of love. Hearts unfold like flowers before you. Hail you as the sun above. Joyful, joyful Lord, we adore you. God of glory, Lord of love. Hearts unfold like flowers before you. Hail you as the sun above. You're the horizon, the bright, the glimmer that breaks the constant night. You are the brilliance, the dream, evidence of things unseen. Even the darkest days are temporary. You are the everlasting light. All of the time and space could not contain you. You are the everlasting light. You are the glory that stays. Oh, you never dim, you never fade. You are the power, the truth.
everyone. I'm Kim,
And I'm Erwin.
and we just want to welcome you. This is our home, and this is the first time we've ever done this, to say come into our home for a whole month.
But with COVID and the quarantine, with all the challenges that 2020 have brought, we wanted to invite you to our home for the holidays.
That's exactly right, and we love home, and everything is about family and home for us.
Although we have been home this year,
Way too much.
so we love home, but it would be really great to get out of home. But while we're home, let's make this the best Christmas ever.
I'll tell you, we've learned a lot of things. We've worked through a lot of things here in our own space, as you have in your house. So we just want to just come and have a time where we just relax, talk to you for a few minutes, enjoy the season. We don't want to let this season pass by. We want to redeem 2020, and we're not letting this moment, this season, go uncelebrated. We are celebrating in this home. And we love Christmas. We have Christmas like children who love Christmas. So, hey.
So each week we're going to invite you to join us here for the month of December, and we're going to take some time and unwrap the story of Jesus and allow God to speak to us during each one of these times together.
Yep.
Why don't you begin?
And I don't want to just welcome you. I also want to welcome you to the scriptures. We're going to go Luke, the first chapter of Luke, and we're going to look at the first 4 verses, and it goes like this. I love this. Many have undertaken to draw up an account of the things that have been fulfilled among us, just as they were handed down to us by those who from the first were eyewitnesses and servants of the word. With this in mind, since I myself have carefully investigated everything from the beginning, I too decided to write an orderly account for you, most excellent Theophilus, so that you may know the certainty of the things you have been taught. This is the beginning. This is when Jesus had been with us, had been born, had lived a life for 33 years, sacrificed ultimately, died, resurrected, ascended back into heaven. Time passed. Luke, who was an associate of all the disciples, was an eyewitness, and it was important for him to sit down and write an account. And we're the benefactors of that he called himself an eyewitness and a servant of the word. I want us to be thinking that is our part of Christmas this year, to be a servant of the word, to do our part in this whole history of what we've lived through, and know that we can be its servant, that we can finish well, that 2020 has been redeemed, that God is good, and he is good for us, and that God loves us, and that God has cared for us. And I'm just like, God, what is my part in this? How can I be a servant to take the truth forward and not be a servant of what the circumstances say, what restrictions say, what the new turn of events, the news says. But I want to be very intentional. And so I want Christmas to be that for us. And I hope that for you, that you would feel that you too would be a servant. And what does that look like, to be a servant of the word? That you are called, that God has commissioned you. He has assigned you for certain work to do. And whenever you meet another human being, that's where the work begins. Our work is human work. Our work is people work. Our work is a broken world, loving them. And it goes beyond what our own circumstances are. God has called us. He's in 1 John, it says, you are the anointed. You are the anointed one. This is your job. Our job is to serve a broken world. And that's part of being a servant of the word, is loving people.
That's so good. You know, one of the things that really strikes me, and that's so critical, is that Luke, who also wrote Acts, and it tells you that Luke probably is not what we consider an intuitive, artistic, creative, spontaneous human being. His goal was to write an orderly account, and he writes Luke and Acts as 2 pieces of history. He wants to make sure that the story of Jesus is not lost in the mythology, but that it's actually grounded in history. He knows that the life of Jesus is so extraordinary, and the things that Jesus did were so unbelievable beyond imagination or comprehension even, that he wanted to make sure that generations later, people were not simply telling myths or stories about this man, Jesus. He wanted to make sure that what Jesus did was rooted in real time, real space, a real moment in history. And so he tells us he wants to make sure that he leaves us an orderly account. And then he writes to this friend called Theophilus, which means lover of God. So he's writing to this person who is a lover of God. He may not be a person who yet believes in Jesus, but what you find is that there was all this movement of people around the time of Jesus who were actually trying to make sense of life and trying to make sense of God. And they were leaning into the law and the prophets, the scriptures, and they were waiting for this Messiah. And Luke writes to this person saying, if you actually have your heart inclined toward God, I want to leave you the history, not a story, but a history of what God did in real time and real space. And that just, for me, becomes so powerful, because sometimes when you're in the moment in life, you're wondering, does God really know what to do in this moment? We don't say that out loud, but the way we kind of show it is we're not really able to trust God, or not willing to trust God in this moment in life. 2020 has been one of the most, I think, unexpected and devastating years for so many people. And, we're still on the crest of the momentum of a really challenging moment in history. And as you're living through this moment, right now, you may just be trapped in this moment, but I want you to realize there's going to be a day where you're going to look back on this moment, and you're going to tell the story of how you met God in that moment. And so 5 years from now, in 2025, and then 2030 and 2035, however long into the future, we get to tell a story here. We get to write through our lives an orderly account of what God did in this moment in history. We get to be both eyewitnesses and servants. That's the language that Luke uses. He says that he's both an eyewitness and a servant. Whenever God acts in your life, you become an eyewitness of the proof and reality of God. But when you get to experience God, you're not just experiencing that for your benefit. You're not just experiencing the goodness and generosity and intervention and activity of God in your life for you. It's also so that you can be a servant of that reality. You can be a servant of that intervention. You can be a servant of that truth. And so each one of us during this Christmas season, we need to pick up our pens, in a sense, and we need to make sure that our souls are a parchment where God can write the story of his intervention in human history, his activity in our lives. And each one of us need to make sure that we're telling the orderly account of God's work in us. So maybe the questions for me become really a little bit unnerving. Am I trying to write the history of this year without God? Am I writing the history of this year as if God were absent? Am I writing the history of this year, and the history that we're writing for generations to come is I just survived that moment. I struggled through it. I was suffocating. I could barely breathe. Or are you allowing God to write through your life how faithful he is, how good he is, how powerful he is in this moment of your life? But it's not over yet. And so maybe if it was a rough start and a rough middle, this December we have an opportunity to make it an extraordinary end. And after all, we know that every great story, every great epic tale has a pretty shaky middle, even for the heroes. It's how the story ends that actually matters. It's how you finish the book that actually makes the book powerful. And you can finish this month writing a history of God meeting you in this moment in time. If Jesus was just a story, it would be the most inspiring story ever written. And I love great stories, and we live in the epicenter of great storytelling. And our favorite movies would be different movies, but we both love stories that inspire us, and they inspire us to love, or they inspire us to courage, or They inspire us to dream great dreams or to live heroic lives or to pursue that great love. And stories can have a power to them. But a story can never be as powerful as a history. And if in this moment, our story is rooted in reality, and you can become the proof of God's presence in the middle of protests, in the middle of the pain and anguish of social injustice, in the middle of questioning the authenticity and veracity of our own historical story as a nation, in a moment where people are struggling to trust each other, in a moment where we seem to be divided between color and race and place of birth, in a moment where a global pandemic has caused a global pandemic of fear and uncertainty, in a moment where quarantine has cost us so many of our assumed freedoms and has brought an avalanche of despair and depression and anxiety and stress and even of suicide. In this moment, this is the moment where God needs us to be writing the history that needs to be lived right now. You and me, we together need to be the eyewitnesses of God's activity and the servants of that reality, so that we're allowing God to meet us in this moment. And then we are allowing God to use us so that those who are struggling right now, those who feel alone right now, those who feel overwhelmed with loneliness, those who are drowning in their own despair, those who feel paralyzed in their anxiety and stress, have someone close enough to them where they don't have to ask, well, why did God do something 2,000 years ago? Where is he now? They can actually look at you. They can look at us. They can read the story of our lives and know that God is here in this moment. In this way, we're all supposed to be Luke. We are to be writing the orderly account of God's activity in now. God is grounded in this moment. He's here with us. But we need to ground ourselves in him, or this moment may overwhelm us. But when you're grounded in his presence and the reality of who Jesus is, there is no moment in history that you will ever have to write without the proof of God with you. And there may be people listening right now who've just decided to join us for the first time. Maybe you're listening and you just needed to get around some Christmas environment and find a little bit of hope and the possibility of peace and joy in your life. And Kim and I want you to know that the reason that we're doing this is because both of us have had a life-changing encounter with Jesus, and Jesus has changed our lives. And it wasn't from an easy life or an ideal circumstance that Jesus came to us. It is in the middle of our own pain and our own confusion and our own hopes and longings and dreams. And so we both know with absolute certainty that wherever you are and whatever you've been through and whatever this moment looks like for you right now, that God is just a breath away. He's just a prayer away. And if you're ready to put your trust in Jesus, if you're tired of trying to struggle through this life alone, then we want to invite you right now just to cross the line of faith and to open up your life to Jesus and let him bring to you the forgiveness that your soul longs for, the freedom that you're created for, and the future that only God can imagine for you. So I want to lead you just a simple prayer. It's just one sentence. But that one sentence is a conversation with God that will change everything in your life. As if you're ready to receive God's forgiveness and his freedom and his love. Would you just pray the simple prayer with me right now? Jesus, I give you my life. Right now, just tell him, Jesus, I give you my life. That simple declaration is that transference of relationship where you are now giving your life to Jesus. And when you give your life to Jesus, he puts his life in you. And if you just whispered this prayer, Jesus, I give you my life, I want you to know that God has met you in this moment. And I want to wish you the greatest Christmas ever, because The story of Jesus is God coming into human history for us. And the story of this Christmas for you is God coming to dwell within you, giving you life. So I want you to go to mosaic.org/follow Jesus and let us know that you've made a decision, a commitment today, a choice to follow Jesus so that we can help you on your new spiritual journey, because this relationship with Jesus is not one you're supposed to do alone. And we want to wish you all
A Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, guys.
We're so glad you could be in our home.
And Mosaic, we love you, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Pastor Erwin and Pastor Kim, for such a timely and important message this season. And if you made a choice today and you said yes to Jesus for the first time, I just want to invite you to go to mosaic.org/follow Jesus and let us know about the decision that you made today. This Christmas season, we're always going to come together and talk about how we can give and be a benefit to others. And in James chapter 1, it says, every desirable and beneficial gift comes out of heaven. The gifts are rivers of light cascading down from the Father of light. What a beautiful image about what happens when we choose to become givers. It's been such an honor and a privilege to be a part of this tribe we call Mosaic, as we have given so much to people who are in need. See, this Thanksgiving, we had the privilege as a church, as a community, to feed over 1,500 people, to serve families that were in need, and it was us as a community coming together. See, this is what happens when you understand that God has given to you so you can give to others, is that we are just like this passage says, that we're rivers of light, that what God gives us, it flows in us and through us to those who need it the most. And there's something that happens inside of us when we tap into this spirit of joy, this spirit of generosity. That reminds me of recently, I went over to my good friend's house, Carlos and Sothi, and I went to pick something up. And as I'm there are two boys, Brooke and Leah, run up to me and they say, hey, we have a gift for Zion Indy. Can you give it to them? And I said, sure. And they come and they bring these two little Eiffel Towers, these keychains. I don't know where they got them from. And they said, can you please make sure they get them? And I said, oh, sure, of course. So I rush home and I see the boys. I say, hey, guys, I have a surprise. And their eyes light up. And I say, here, this is from Brooklyn and Leon, your best friends. And I give them these keychains. And you would have thought that I had given these kids the world, $1 million. And they were just so overjoyed. And so that night, as Indy's going to bed, I noticed that he's clutching the keychain. And I said, hey, buddy, I can grab that and I can just put it by your bed and so it doesn't poke you when you're sleeping. And he said, no. He said, I want to hold this keychain because it's a gift from my best friends. And it was the cutest thing ever. And it just reminded me that it matters when you understand where the gift came from. That it adds a whole nother weight when you know the origin of who paid the price. And I wonder if people feel the same way when we give generously and sacrificially. I wonder if they understand that when we give on their behalf, it's as if they experience this river of light where they know that God sees them, and so he uses us to be a part of this with him. And I want to encourage you right now, wherever you are, this Christmas season, to give generously and sacrificially, knowing that when we give of one spirit and of one heart, people sense that there's a God that loves them, and his name is Jesus. So this Christmas, let's remind people that they matter most to God, and let's give above and beyond. So if you want to be a part of this with us, you can go to mosaic.org/give, and you can join us in reminding people that there is a love that comes from the Father, and we do it through our generosity. And Mosaic, I hope you had an incredible beginning to this Christmas season. We love you so much. We'll see you next week.
To the little lamb, do you see what I see? way up in the sky, little lamb. Do you see what I see? A star dancing in the night with a tail as big as a kite, with a tail as big as a kite. Said the little lad to the shepherd boy, do you hear what I hear? Ringing through the sky, shepherd boy, do you hear what I hear? A song, high above the trees with a voice as big as the sea, with a voice as big as the sea. Say the shepherd boy to the mighty king, do you know what I know? In your palace, war, mighty king, do you know what I know? A child shivers in the cold. Let us bring him silver and gold. Let us bring him silver and gold. Say the